Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Baradhari Giri Baradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Baradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranja Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Braja Jana Yamunatiravanachari Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivajika Jaya Asto Tarasarshi Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki Prem se Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinatha Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Shri Maipura Navadvait Dham ki Shri Purushottam Kshetra ki Shri Ganga Mai ki Jai Shri Jamuna Mai ki Jai Bhakti Devi ki Jai Tulsi Devi Maharani ki Jai Harinam Sankirtana ki Jai Gantara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the Assembled devotees. All glories to the Assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Mujharane Nivasesha Nivari Pasachati Sacharane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we're reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 7. The Science of God. Chapter 7, what Prahlad learned in the womb. Text number 34. Nishamya karmane gunan utulyan viryani lila tanubi kitarni yadati hashut palakashrugadgadam pradkanta udgayati roti atyati nrityati. Kiga, I was just going to get the light out because I can't see the book. That's what and N looks like an A, and but go on. Nirantiklila tanubi kritani yadati hashot pulakasrugadgadam pradkantanid gayati roti nrityati nishamya karmani gunanutulyan viryani lila tanubi kritani yadati hashot pulakashrugadgadam pradkanta udgayati roti nrityati nishamya karmani gunanatulyan viryani lila tanubi kritani yadati harshot pulakashrugadgadam pradkanta udgayati roti nrityati nishamya karmani gunanatulyan viryani lila tanubi kritani yadati harshot pulakashrugadgadam pradkanta udgayati roti nrityati. Ladies. Nishamya karmani gunanatulyan viryani lila tanubi kritani yadati hashot pulakashrugadgadam pradkanta udgayati roti nrityati nishamya karmani gunanatulyan viryani lila tanubi kritani yadati hashot pulakashrugadgadam pradkanta udgayati roti nrityati. Nishamya, hearing. Karamani, transcendental activities. Gunan, spiritual qualities. Atulyan, uncommon, not generally visible in an ordinary person. Viryani, very powerful. Lila Tanubhi, by different pastime forms. Kritani, performed. Yada, when, atiharsha, because of great jubilation, utpalaka, horripilation, ashru, tears in the eyes, gadgadam, faltering voice, pratkamtaha, with an open voice, udgayati, chants very loudly, roti, cries, nrityati, dances. I guess that's rauti, right? Rauti. R-A-U-T-I, rauti, not roti like a chapati. Rauti. One who is situated in devotional service is certainly the controller of his senses. And thus he is a liberated person. When such a liberated person, the pure devotee, hears of the transcendental qualities and activities of the Lord's incarnations for the performance of various pastimes, his hair stands on end on his body. Tears fall from his eyes, and in his spiritual realization, his voice falters. What's the Sanskrit word for faltering voice in this verse? Put your hands up if you know what it is. Okay. What is it? Gadgadam. Yeah. Gadgadam. Yeah. Faltering voice. Sometimes he very openly dances. Sometimes he sings loudly. And sometimes he cries. Thus he expresses his transcendental jubilation. Right? Ati harsha. Harsha means happy, right? Ati harsha means very happy. Ati harsha is very happy. Purport. The Lord's activities are uncommon. What's that? What's the Sanskrit word for uncommon? Atulyan. Atulyan. Tula is a balance, a weighing. Use it for weighing things, right? Scales. Isn't that a sign of the zodiac? Tula, right? What does that mean? Tula. What's it generally mean in English? Tula. Scales. In the sidereal horoscope, what's Tula called? What's the sign called? Libra. Yeah, Libra. Yeah. So Tula means balanced. But Atula means, it's uncommon, unprecedented, atulyan. For example, when he appeared as Lord Ramchandra, he performed uncommon activities like bridging the ocean. Right? I saw a headline somewhere. Many headlines distract you, right? But this one was about Ram. This is about the age of the formation of rocks between India and Lanka, right, Sri Lanka. Right? And they're saying it's at least 7,000 years old. Okay. Similarly, when Lord Krishna appeared, he raised the Govardhan hill when he was only 7 years of age. These are uncommon activities. Right, so, you know, the bridge to Lanka was made of rocks floating on the ocean. And lifting Govardhan hill. Krishna's only 7 years old, and he lifted Govardhan hill with the little finger of his left hand. Right? These are uncommon activities. Fools and rascals who are not in the transcendental position consider these uncommon activities of the Lord to be mythological. But when the pure devotee, the liberated person, hears about these uncommon activities of the Lord, he immediately becomes ecstatic and exhibits the symptoms of chanting, dancing, and crying very loudly and jubilantly. This is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gunanjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahiyam Tadati Swapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Garim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam. Are there any tissues over there, by any chance? Okay, so there's a description here of of what? What does Prabhupada say? This is his description of who? Yeah, but what words does Prabhupada use exactly? It's in the purport. Uncommon activities? Yeah, that's of Krishna. But who's he describing? Who's this describing? What kind of person? Thanks. What kind of a person is being described here in this verse? Pure devotee. Yes, a pure devotee. That's interesting, isn't it? Does it have perforations? No. A pure devotee. And Prabhupada contrasts, in the purport, Prabhupada contrasts the pure devotee with what? Or with who? Do you think? Are you thinking this morning? What kind of a person is Prabhupada contrasting? Non-devotee. Yeah, and what does he call them? What does Prabhupada call them in the purport? Fools and rascals. Yeah, fools and rascals. Why does Prabhupada call the non-devotees fools and rascals? Why? Why? Huh? Because it's true? Maybe, yeah. Maybe. I have another reason. Say that again? Yeah, yes, yeah, quite possibly.
Because Krishna says that.
Yes, because Krishna says it. Right? Krishna is just following in the parampara. Prabhupada is just following in the parampara. What is it? What is it? What's the verse? Avajananti mam mudha. Yeah, mudha. Avajananti mam mudha. So there's a different response. There's and you know, we can tell people, or we can understand the character or the qualities of a person by their behaviour. Right? The Chinchrupa went to the flower supplier yesterday, out near Dandenong, and when she got there, the order was all messed up, and so she had to wait. When they went to the farm, had to go to another farm and get flowers and blah, blah, blah. And the gentleman there was asking a Chinchrupa how long she'd been going to the market for, right? And so she said, since 1980. So he was like, whoa. You've been going to the market longer than I've been selling flowers, right? And they were apologetic about having messed up the order. And she said, they promised me everything. Next time they promised me everything, and she said, let's see. We've dealt with salespeople before, right? So, yep. We like it when people say yes, 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 right? Yes, yes. For you, I'll do anything. But then we test them by their behaviour, right? You may say so many things, but let's test you to see whether you're true to your word or not. Otherwise, it's just called lip service, right? Lip service. Yes, yes, yes. And then when it comes to action, something else happens. Right? So, we can determine the qualities and characteristics of a devotee, as we can determine the qualities and characteristics of somebody who's not a devotee. I remember going on Harinam in my first few weeks of staying in the temple. And we'd be driving in a combi, there'd be half a dozen of us. And there was one devotee who used to point out people on the street. And he used to say, "Oh, look at that guy, he's a real demon." Right? And I look at him and I think, doesn't look any different to anybody else. How do you know he's a demon? How do you know? You know, not that he had horns coming out the top of his head or something like that. But there's certain qualifications, there's certain characteristics. I never could work out how you could tell a demon just by looking at them. Right? You know, there are stories of there's one story of a devotee, his name was Aniruddha, and he worked in a fruit shop in Auckland, and he used to throw rotten vegetables at the devotees, right? So ostensibly he's a demon, at least to start with, but in due course of time he became a devotee, right? So we're not cast in stone. You know, it's not, the qualities and the characteristics are not fixed. Even we see in the example of Bali Maharaj, we see in the example of Prahlad Maharaj, we see that they're from demoniac families, yet they're actually great devotees. Well, so generally the quality that's being described here, or the characteristic of a non-devotee, is that they are not able to appreciate the personal qualities of God, the personal characteristics. And have you noticed that Vasudev's got quite a confident character? He knows what he's doing. Or at least he makes out like he knows what he's doing. I asked him the other day, "How come you're so handsome?" Well, this is at was it his birthday? I think it was his birthday, and he was dressed in a fancy suit. Right? I said, "How come you're so handsome?" He says, "It's because of the clothes that I'm wearing." Which is a pretty interesting answer from a young fellow. So, this understanding of God as a person is not readily and easily understood. It's easy for people to relatively easy for people to understand of a power, of an energy, of a force that is manifest in everything and is everywhere and is all powerful. Anything that exists everywhere and in everything has to be powerful. But to conceive of that energy or of that form, or that energy as having a form at the same time, is a step beyond the ordinary experience of everyone. You know, that all-pervading energy also has personality and can at the same time as being everywhere be in one place as a person. That's very challenging, especially for materialistic or for those without Shraddha, actually, those without faith. That's why it's recommended that in order to understand these things, one has to come into the association of the devotees. This is why association of devotees is so important, so powerful, because the devotees have faith that God exists as the all-powerful, all-pervading, energetic, if you like, or the energy, but also is the energetic, the source of the power, right? And is situated in one place as a person. Not only in one place, in many places, actually. Right? As I've mentioned before, Krishna is, God is a person. There is one God, right? But he's polymorphic also. He exists in many forms, right? This is thoroughly bewildering for the materialistic people, right? How can God be one person yet he exists all the time in many forms? Just mind-blowing. So, and which is uncommon, right? Atulyan, right? That Krishna can manifest himself as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but also here, Ramchandra, Lord Nrsingadev, right? Not only in human form, which makes sense, in one sense it makes sense, but also in the form of a swan, or in the form of a boar, right? That's interesting, isn't it? You know, when you think of it, what does a boar do? Right? What does a boar do that's unique? What does a boar do? In India, what do you see the boars doing? Hey, Griever, have you seen the boars in India? You haven't? Yeah, what are they doing? What's that?
I've seen them in Goshala.
You've seen them at the Goshala. Yeah, what are they doing? What are the boars doing?
Ramming into each other.
What's that?
Ramming into each other.
Ramming into each other. Running into each other.
Running with it, banging into each other. There you go. What else are they doing? What are the boars doing? Govindesh, maybe you know what the boars are doing in India. What are they doing? They're in the gutters. Yeah, they're just sniffing around eating stool. So why is Lord Vishnu appearing as a boar? Right? Why? Well, when the Earth fell out of its orbit, it fell into the lower part of the Garbhodak Ocean, right? So he had to go down to that place, the bottom of the universe, if you like, to pull it back out again, right? So, yeah, it's kind of like, why would the Lord want to take birth as a boar? When, you know, what do boars do? They just fight and... So when you think about it, the activities of the Lord are very astounding, amazing. And so the materialistic people have, they just take these things as being mythological, not real, not true. But the devotee is different. When he hears or she hears of the activities of the Lord, then look what happens. What are the qualities here that are described? What's the first quality that's described here? What's that?
Control of the senses. Control of the senses.
Control of the senses. Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting, because that's not actually mentioned in the translation, or it's certainly not obvious to me. Right? But Prabhupada mentions that in the purport. Right? There's a quality of a devotee. And this is another challenge for the materialistic mind, is when they see the devotees, then they see people who are just engaged like them in what appear to be ordinary activities, right? What to speak of Krishna being engaged in activities? They see the devotees are engaged in the same kind of activities that they are, and they can't understand how come, or even whether a devotee is actually advanced or not. Very difficult to determine, right? Whether a devotee is advanced or not because of his behaviour. It looks like the same as everybody else. He's eating, he's sleeping, he's doing business, like Prabhupada said, he's going to the bank, he's dealing with money, he's printing books, he's going and selling books. Sometimes people, devotees would be out on book distribution, and people would be impressed by their sales abilities, and they say, I'd like to give you a job as a salesman. Right? But a devotee is not a salesman, he's a devotee. Right? But his behaviour looks just like the same as anybody else. So it's bewildering. Krishna's behaviour is bewildering because he does uncommon things, and a devotee's behaviour is bewildering because he does common things. And they think, a renunciate or an advanced spiritualist leaves the material world and goes and lives in the forest. This is the idea of somebody who's spiritually advanced. And it is true, they're detached. A spiritually advanced person is detached from the material world. That's exemplified in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's example, Lord Chaitanya's example as a sannyasi, as the Goswamis, right, the 6 Goswamis, living under a different tree every night, living very, very simply, completely detached, completely renounced. Right? But then at the same time also, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our Srila Prabhupada, they were renunciates, but at the same time engaged with the material world. But not with the idea of possessing, rather with the idea of utilising everything, knowing that it all belongs to Krishna and should be used in Krishna's service. This is real renunciation. Or Prabhupada mentions in the 9th canto, feasible renunciation. Very interesting. Or I don't know whether Actually, those introductions to the Bhagavatam have come from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, feasible renunciation. In other words, understanding everything belongs to Krishna. Isavasyam medam saravam. Everything belongs to God, right? But God's servant can use those things in the service of God, and even though he's dealing with money or he's behaving apparently like everybody else, doesn't mean that he's a materialist. And here's one of the ways of determining. He has great faith in the pastimes of Krishna, and he's always engaged in Krishna's service. Yeah, okay, so that's the first thing. But what else? Apart from, I'm talking about in the translation, what's the first item of ecstatic symptoms that's mentioned here? Starts with a H, and a word that we don't use very often. In the word for word. Is it in the word for word? Yes. Utpulaka. Horripilation. Or here, hair stands on end on his body. Huh? What's the next item? Ashru, isn't it? Ashru. Well, actually, it's mentioned here, Atiharsha, right? Great jubilation. But what are the symptoms of that great jubilation? Horripilation, hair standing on end. Ashru, tears in the eyes. And then Gadgaram, faltering voice. Where's that Gadgaram? Where's that? No. Where's that? That's mentioned in the Gora Ati. What is it? Shiva Sukha Narada Prema Gadgada, isn't it? Lord Shiva, Sukadev Goswami, Narada Muni, right? Prema. They're feeling ecstasy in the arti of Lord Chaitanya. Right? This is where we experience very often. The devotees experience these symptoms in the kirtan or in the worship of the deity, right? Shiva, Sukha, Narada, Prema, Gadgada. They're feeling choked voice, right? When they're chanting. And then then what is he doing? What is the devotee doing after that? Huh? Chanting loudly, yep. And what else? Dancing. Right? Or rauti. Crying. And nrityati, dancing. Yeah. Yeah, Prabhupada mentions that sometimes people are amazed at seeing the Western devotees showing the symptoms of a devotee, dancing and crying and chanting very loudly. And they say, this is very unusual. But Prabhupada says, actually it's not unusual. It's a symptom of a devotee, and it naturally manifests, especially in one who's a pure devotee. These things are actually irrepressible, right? Because these are symptoms. These are the symptoms of the residents of the spiritual world. What is it? Every step is a dance, and every word is a song, right? And when the devotee comes into the association of the devotees, when the devotee performs sankirtan, right? When they hear the topics of the Bhagavatam, when they worship the deity and reside in a sacred place, because this is a sacred place where all of those activities are taking place, and that's a sacred place, then automatically the symptoms of ecstasy will manifest, and they can't be repressed. They can be imitated, by the way, right? They can be imitated, but irrepressible in a devotee, a pure-hearted devotee. So this is the difference, Prabhupada says here. This is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. Now, how do we tell if somebody is imitating and or somebody is the real thing? How do we tell? We need to be able to tell, right? You know, there's that story about how the devotees would ask Prabhupada that, there were people who would come to the Krishna Balaram Mandir and then they'd roll around on the floor in the temple room and show symptoms of ecstasy. And Prabhupada, he said, kick him in the head. Kick him in the head and see what happens. He said, if he doesn't take any notice, then you know he's a pure devotee. You shouldn't have kicked him then. In other words, a lot of sahajas, a lot of imitators, imitation devotee. Right, so how do we tell the difference between an imitation devotee and a real devotee? Given that these symptoms can be, some people can display these symptoms and not be a pure devotee. How do we tell? Okay, first question, do we need to tell? Do you think? Hands up if you think we need to be able to distinguish between a devotee and a non-devotee. Good idea, huh? Okay, how do we tell? Does anybody... Put your hand up if you think you know how to tell. Yeah, okay. What do you reckon, Sibya?
Maybe I'm not able to doesn't have that much of faith as a devotee has.
But how do you tell? Where's the test? We don't have a piece of litmus paper and we can put it in their mouth and look at it and say, strong faith. How do we tell? Hayagriva? Controls his senses? Yeah, they could still be doing some devotional service. Right? They could still be doing service. By good fortune in the association of devotees, They could be doing some service, but still don't believe in Krishna. Right? Given they're imitating, what do you think?
I guess it would be hard to tell unless you spend more time with them. Because anyone can talk about Krishna and exhibit and act as if he is a pure devotee. But I guess if you spend some time with them and you see that, how they handle certain situations and see how they respond to situations, and are they looking for some kind of attention? I guess that's.
No. Are they real? Yeah. Are they real? Gopa, what's your analysis?
Yeah, because in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives the symptoms of a pure devotee. One is not engaged in sense gratification.
Yeah. Not engaged in sense gratification.
And onwards, there are many symptoms, so we could apply that.
Yeah, that's one. But still, sometimes devotees, actually, we see are engaged in sense gratification, but they're still devotees. Huh?
Depends on the advancement. So we can see
Yes.
every devotee in different levels.
Yeah, that's right. What does the Shastra say? How do we test? What's the first test? I mentioned it before. Huh? What was that? Kick him in the head. No, that's... Prabhupada was just joking. I don't think that was seriously to be applied. Prabhupada did have a sense of humour. Yeah, isn't that interesting how one has to take the order of the spiritual master seriously, but one also has to understand the mood, right? Just because the spiritual master says you jump off a cliff, that doesn't mean you should jump off the cliff. Might be just testing your intelligence, right? And I'll give you an example of that. Not last year, but the year before. I was in Vrindavan with my Guru Maharaj, and I think I was travelling around, or moving around a bit, and he said to me, "I think you should come and live in India for 6 months of the year." So, okay, there's an instruction. I think, how am I going to do that? And then the next year I came back to him and I said, "I've been thinking about that instruction that you gave me about living in India for 6 months." And he just laughed and he said, "That was just a joke." He said, "You were moving around so much then, I was thinking you might as well not be in Melbourne, so I was just teasing you." So, yeah, you have to test the order of the spiritual master, or at least understand the severity of the instruction, and ask for more clarity, right? Or the other story about how, when the spiritual master gives you an instruction in a dream, then you should take it seriously. Right? Any instruction from the spiritual master should be taken seriously. So I remember I had a dream. My spiritual master told me to go and serve in Bali. I should go to Bali. I guess going to Bali was an attractive idea at the time. And I thought, I wonder if I should start making plans to go to Bali. I thought, I better wait. I'll wait till he comes and see if he, gives me further instructions on going to Bali. And of course, when he came, he didn't mention anything about Bali at all. It was just a dream. It was a bright idea that I cooked up in my head. We have to be careful. So, okay, how do we tell? How do we tell? As Prabhupada mentions in the purport, generally a devotee is a liberated person because they're always engaged in devotional service. Right? And as I mentioned, that's not easy to understand because a devotee appears very often just like every ordinary person. Right? So there must be more. And it's not kicking him in the head. So it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada mentions it also, that we can tell a devotee by how they speak, right? What is the most important qualification of a person? Prabhupada says, how they speak. This is in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, right? How they speak. And what is the characteristic of a devotee? How will they speak? And why is speech an important characteristic? Why is speech an important characteristic to judge anybody by? At least initially. Why is speech important? Do you think?
Reveals one's mind.
That's right. Yes. A person reveals their mind when they speak. Right? So what is a devotee speaking about? According to the Bhagavad Gita. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridabrataha. Right? They're always talking about Krishna, they're always serving Krishna. Dridabrata, with a firm vow. Right? This is why it's very interesting in the Nectar of Instruction, it's mentioned that the best person is a person who chants the name of Krishna, right? Krishneti yasya giritam manasa driyeta. But Rupa Goswami suggests that we just offer respects to somebody who chants the name of Krishna. Right? But we offer our obeisances to Krishneti, Dikshasti chet, pranati bis, bhajantami sham. We offer our obeisances to the initiated devotees. Dikshasti chat, pranati bis, bhajantami sham. We offer our obeisances to those who have taken initiation. Why? Why? Do you think? Yeah, and what does that mean in relationship to Drida Brata? Drida Brata. What does Drida Brata mean? Drida. What does Drida mean? Determined, right? Firm. And Brata means what? Vow. So what has an initiated devotee done? What has he done? Taken a vow. What's his vow? At least in ISKCON, what's the vow? Yes. What else? Chanting. Yeah. Chanting. And Prabhupada says, Prabhupada quotes Krishna, what is it? Who you associate with, you become like. Right? So the devotee is always talking about Krishna, always thinking about Krishna. That's manifest in his speaking about Krishna, and also we test the person's speech, if you like. We test them, like Achincharipa said. I'll test the flower merchant next time when I go there. He said so many things, but let's see if he lives up to his promise. Right? So we also test the devotee. to see whether he lives up to his promise. But best way to determine, or the Shastra also says, we can test the devotee by the mercy that they manifest in the instructions, in the advice, in the presentations that they make, the advice that they give. This is the way to test the quality or the caliber of a devotee. And of course, if we see in their behaviour the same characteristics, then that just reinforces in fact, that determines the validity very often of a devotee. So, we are very fortunate to be in the association of the devotees and to hear the pastimes of Krishna. Even we may not be very advanced devotees. We ourselves may not have great learning, a deep understanding of the Shastra or a deep understanding of devotional service. We may be just in a beginner's stage, right? But of course that's recommended by Rupa Goswami. Ado Shraddha, we have some faith, then that faith brings us sadhu sangha, into the association of the devotees. And then in the association of devotees, what do? Bhajana kriya. We start also worshipping Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna. Was it Sankirtan? Hearing the Bhagavatam, worshipping the deity, residing in a sacred place. We perform those activities that bring out these emotions, these qualities and characteristics of a devotee gradually will manifest in the heart of somebody who engages in these activities. So, we want the association of devotees. We need the association of devotees, because by that association then these good qualities will naturally manifest with the purification of the material attachments. And by especially it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam is our very means of conquest, right? And by regularly hearing the Bhagavatam, the influence of the mode of ignorance and the influence of the mode of passion is gradually dissipated, right? Very subtle, very subtle. You know, sometimes, it's the month of Purushottam, right? So, at the beginning of the month of Purushottam, there's always these messages going around. You've got to chant this verse, you've got to do this brata, you've got to do this or you've got to do that. It's like, oh, okay, oh, right? But actually, all you need to do is keep doing what you should be doing already. And there is a mantra that you should be chanting. Have a guess what it is. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pretty mystical, huh? Just chant that mantra, get that one down, and then all of your other mantras will just fall into place, right? All other mantras line up and pay attention to the Maha Mantra. Really, when you think about it. And I've also keep in mind, Srila Prabhupada, I don't think you find anywhere that Prabhupada mentions the Adhika Purushottam month in his books. I don't think you find it anywhere. And certainly Prabhupada does not mention that you have to do anything extra, right? And if we do anything extra, then maybe we do it for preaching. It's interesting with the month of Kartik, Prabhupada did, recommend, encourage us to chant the Dhammadarashtakam and to offer offer lamps and so forth. But in a letter to Jayapataka Swami, he explains, we're only doing that to attract people. Right? We do it to attract people. So interesting, Prabhupada's rationale for doing that. So in the Adhika Purushottam month, we may do some things to attract people, but basically for ourselves, all we need to do is chant 16 rounds, follow the rules, and keep doing your service, because it's powerful. Sometimes the devotees think, oh, I'm missing out on something. Oh, here's a mantra. Oh, yeah, I should chant that mantra, right? That'll make me a pure devotee. But actually, Prabhupada's actually given us everything that we need to be a pure devotee, right? And especially in the association of devotees, especially in the chanting of Hare Krishna, and especially in hearing the Bhagavatam. And in fact, this is Rupa Goswami. It's not what Prabhupada's given us necessarily, but because of course it is what Prabhupada's given us, but that's what Rupa Goswami's given us. That's what's coming from the previous acharyas, especially Rupa Goswami. And so we find these instructions in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in the Nectar of Devotion. The basic practices of bhakti are super powerful, extraordinarily powerful. And in that hearing regularly of the Bhagavatam, what we're doing now, gradually removes ignorance. So we wake up. I'm a servant of Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He performs amazing pastimes, which is all the Bhagavatam's about, when you think about it, right? The Bhagavatam is about all of the amazing pastimes of Krishna, but not only Krishna, also his devotees, right? When you think about it, I was reading about Ambarish Maharaj the other day, and how Ambarish, it's interesting how Ambarish came from such an incredible pedigree. And so his father was a devotee, given transcendental instructions by Lord Shiva, and so very renounced. So it's interesting that Ambarish Maharaj's was so detached himself. He was so detached, yet looked like an ordinary person. And so when Durvasa Muni came along, not recognising Ambarish Maharaj's exalted character, exalted personality, this is why devotees are a challenge in many respects, right? Ambarish Maharaj just looked like an ordinary materialist, right? King of the 7 islands, all of the Varshas. Right? He's practically the emperor of the whole universe, right? So he looks just like an ordinary king. And king means money and politics and all of that. So Durvasa Muni comes along and just thinks he's an ordinary person. Well, obviously not an ordinary person, but still not a very advanced transcendentalist. But then Durvasa Muni made the mistake of being offended by Ambarish Maharaj, and so he pulled a hair out of his head, wasn't it? And threw it into the ground. And out came a big demon to chase Ambarish Maharaj. Well, that was a big mistake. Huh? And so, what happened? The Lord Vishnu's Sudarshan Chakra came along and chopped off the head of the demon, right? And then started chasing Durvasa Muni all over the universe. And Durvasa Muni, by ashram, was more exalted than Ambarish. Right? He was a sannyasi renunciate, right? The epitome of renunciation. And Ambarish Maharaj is the king, embroiled in so-called material affairs, right? And so therefore a lesser, ostensibly a lesser person. So Durvasa Muni just curse that rascal. Huh? But the next thing he knew, his tail was being singed by the Sudarshan chakra. Ouch! So even he, and just how elevated is Durvasa Muni? How elevated is he? He goes to Vaikuntha. He's able to get into get past Jaya and Vijay. Maybe Jaya and Vijay was still in the material world at that point. So, and begged Lord Vishnu, please, have the call off your chakra. And what did Lord Vishnu say? No, I can't. You have to go to the person that you offended and get forgiveness from him. Huh? So this illustrates the potency of a devotee. Right? He was just a householder devotee. And what was he doing? Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindayo Vachampsi Vaikuntha Gunanovarnane, talking about Vaikuntha, thinking about the Lord's lotus feet. And my favourite line, Karo Hare Mandira. What did he do? Hare Mandira Karo, right? Went to the temple. And when he got to the temple, what was he doing? Marjanadishu. He was cleaning the temple. So he's the king of the universe. And what does he do? He goes to the temple and looks on the roster and sees where his name is, and he goes and does his service. So just doing the same things we do. Right? Just doing the same things. What is it? Shrutim, hearing. Chakara, again, karo, that word kara. Chakara, and hearing. Shrutim, achutikata, right? Hearing the pastimes of Krishna. So very interesting that Ambarish Maharaj just was a humble devotee, effectively. Like he's the king of the... He's quite unique, obviously. But interesting to note that his father was also very detached and very renounced. Right? So, wealthy, but also understanding the wealth belongs to Krishna. I use it in Krishna's service. Whether I have it or not, I don't care. This is the quality, the characteristic of such an exalted personality. So, Bhagavatam gives us the pastimes of Krishna, but it also gives us the example of very advanced devotees. So when we're always engaging in hearing these qualities and these characteristics, and have a guess what? We get those qualities and characteristics too. Amazing. By Sangat, what is it? Sangat Sanjayate Kama. Right? This is in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada quotes. Sangat Sanjayate Kama, which means basically you become like those who you associate with, right? You develop the same desires as those who you associate with. So when and this is why we come to the temple. We can assume that's why Ambarish Maharaj came to the temple too. And it's also described in his behaviour. How did he engage his sense of touch? How did Maharaj Ambarish engage his sense of touch? Yes, he would embrace the devotees. Oh, Haribol, Prabhu. Right? It's what we do. We like to associate with the devotees and we like to embrace them. Right? In fact, you see Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy, what happened when they embraced? When Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya embraced, what happened? Huh? They had all of these symptoms, horripilations. In fact, they both fell on the ground unconscious. That'd be nice, eh? You embrace a devotee and then you fall on the ground unconscious, start shaking. No, we're just happy to be in each other's company, right? Very simple. Actually, this process of bhakti, we don't have to add extra vratas and extra mantras, right? We don't have to. We've already got enough. We've got enough. Just 4 rules, that's enough, isn't it? That's enough. But keeping in the association of devotees, chanting Hare Krishna, hearing the Bhagavatam, worshipping Radha Ballabha, Gaunitai, Jagannath Balaram, Subhadra, worshipping Prabhupada. Extraordinarily powerful, if we let it, because if we hang on to our attachments, then we won't make advancement. But if we take advantage of the simple things that we've been given and appreciate their potency, then we'll make spiritual advancement without having to add extra brutters. Go and chant Hare Krishna and distribute books, distribute prasadam. That's all we need to do, basically. If we do those things, and we're doing it actually in Melbourne. You can see the devotees are doing it. Well, so many bhakti vriksha engagements, right? So the devotees are coming together and associating, hearing the philosophy, chanting Hare Krishna, taking prasadam. It's happening. But also we need to be out there on the streets, give the holy name, give transcendental knowledge, and increase the sangha of devotees, basically. That's our process. And doing those things, we're guaranteed, right? We're guaranteed to come to this platform. It'll happen. Automatically it'll happen. And because these characteristics or these qualities are actually inherent within everybody. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Sajya Kabunai, it's the perfection of Krishna consciousness, as is mentioned by Krishna Das Kaviraj, actually within the heart of everybody. And these activities, what we're doing, automatically brings it out. Right? It'll automatically come out. Okay. Hare Krishna. Grandaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mahaprasadam ki jai. Eva.